Anybody can hear me? everyone. As That's good. We're all excited to be here. So as chair of the commission, I call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to order at 6:02. This Zoom webinar is also being live streamed on YouTube. For anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch via a different platform than they currently are using, please visit our social media at Redistricting Michigan to find the link for viewing on YouTube. Our live stream today includes closed captioning. Closed captioning, ASL interpretation, and Spanish and Arabic translation services will be provided for effective participation in this meeting. Email us at redistricting@michigan.gov for additional viewing options or details on accessing language translation services for this meeting. People with disabilities needing other specific accommodations should also contact redistricting@michigan.gov. This meeting is being recorded and will be available at www.michigan.gov/MICRC for viewing at a later date. This meeting is also being transcribed, and those transcriptions will be made available and posted on michigan.gov/MICRC, along with written public comment submissions. There is also a public comment portal that may be accessed by visiting michigan.gov/MICRC. This portal can be utilized to post maps and comments, which can be viewed by the public. Members of the media who may have questions before, during, or after the meeting should direct those questions to Edward Woods III, Communications and Outreach Director for the Commission, at woodse3@michigan.gov. We'll now have the roll call. For the purposes of the public watching and the public record, I will turn to Department of State staff to take note of the commissioners present.
Good evening, commissioners. Please say present when I call your name. If you are attending the meeting remotely, please announce during roll call you are attending the meeting remotely. And unless your absence is due to military duty, please announce your physical location by stating the county, city, township, or village, and the state from which you are attending the meeting remotely. Commissioner Clark.
Present.
Commissioner Curry.
Present.
Commissioner Eid.
Present.
Commissioner Kellum.
Present.
Commissioner Lang.
Present, attending remotely from Reed City, Michigan.
Rhonda, I think you're on mute.
Present, attending remotely from Reed City, Michigan.
Commissioner Kellum.
Present.
Commissioner Lang.
Present, attending remote.
Apologies, we were having some technical difficulties. Thank you, Rhonda. Commissioner Lett.
Present.
Commissioner Orton.
Present.
Commissioner Rothorn.
Present.
Commissioner Zatella.
Present.
Commissioner Villette.
Present.
Commissioner Wagner.
Present, attending remotely from Charlotte, Michigan.
Commissioner Weiss.
Present.
Commissioner Witches.
Present.
All commissioners are present.
Thank you, Sarah. And now we'll have our welcome and introductions.
I think that's me. Aaron, I'm doing this on your behalf. Shout out to you. Hello, my name is Commissioner MC Rothorn. Welcome to the MICRC public hearing in Jackson, the kickoff. We are happy you are here to learn about Michigan's new redistricting process and how you can engage throughout this process to ensure your voice is heard. In looking at the agenda, I think I'm the person that's also supposed to advance this. Forgive me. In looking at the agenda, please note that the vast majority of our time this evening, we are eager to hear congressional and Senate districts. In addition to hearing about district lines, we also want to hear your ideas about communities of interest. In 2018, more than 61% of Michigan voters intentionally and deliberately passed Proposal 2, a ballot initiative for voters and not legislators to take responsibility for map fairness and public feedback in the redistricting process, and they created the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, MICRC. For the first time in Michigan's history, the MICRC will lead the redistricting process to draw fair and independent maps. Comprised of 13 randomly selected Michigan residents that includes 4 who affiliate as Democrats, 5 who affiliate as independents, and 4 who affiliate as Republicans through a lottery run by the Michigan Department of State. The MICRC has the exclusive authority in this new redistricting process for Michigan's congressional House and Senate districts. As fellow residents, the MICRC understands your expectations to draw maps in an open and transparent manner that meets constitutional mandates. Our mission and vision exemplifies our resolve, not just for today, but for future generations as well. In your interaction with the MICRC and its staff, you should witness the core values of integrity, respect, transparency, and being purposeful. Once again, we're glad that you're here and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, MC. Now we're going to hear from Sue Hammersmith, our Executive Director, and she's going to share a little bit about our public hearings.
Good evening, and thank you for being here tonight. We really appreciate having everybody come out to our very first public hearing. I want to just talk to you a little bit about what the Constitution of Michigan says about public hearings. So first, before we draw the first line, for any commissioners draw the first line, the commission has to hold at least 10 public hearings throughout the state. Our commission is made up of overachievers. They are hosting 16 public hearings, and this is, as MC said, is the first. There are 3 purposes for public hearings. First is to inform the public about the redistricting process. Second is to share the purpose and responsibilities of the commission. And third, and most importantly, is to solicit information from the public about the redistricting process. So first, what is redistricting? Every 10 years following the US Census, lines have to be redrawn in states across America to accurately reflect the population. The process of drawing district lines is known as redistricting. And in Michigan, we will draw 3 maps. One will have the 13 Michigan congressional districts, one for the 38 Michigan Senate districts, and one for the 110 Michigan House districts. The commission's purpose and responsibilities include exercising the constitutional powers granted solely to them to redistrict Michigan, to operate in an impartial and transparent manner that reinforces public confidence in the integrity of the redistricting process, and to conduct public outreach throughout the state that invites meaningful public participation in the process. Also, they will adopt the 3 maps that I mentioned, one for each type of district. They will ensure credibility, public availability, and accountability for data, for public comments, and for the commission information. And they will assure compliance with the redistricting criteria. As you may know, if you've looked at the Constitution, there are 7 criteria for redistricting. First, they must follow federal law, that is equal population and follow the Voting Rights Act. Secondly, districts must be geographically contiguous. Third, we must take communities of interest into consideration. The fourth and fifth are about political parties. We cannot give a disproportionate advantage to any political party or favor or disfavor an incumbent elected official or a candidate. Sixth, the lines must reflect consideration of county, city, and township boundaries. And seventh, be reasonably compact. It's a tall order. This commission is up for the challenge. Why are we here this evening? To hear directly from you about your ideas to redistrict Michigan's congressional, House, and Senate districts, and to listen and to learn from you about your community of interest. Why should you care? Because this is a historic process for the state of Michigan. It empowers citizens to provide input for the desired lines that will best represent their interest. It's an open and transparent process with opportunity for statewide public participation. And third, it invites communities of interest to share their voices for how they can be best represented. Thank you for listening about public hearings, and I'll turn it over to our General Counsel, Julianne Pastula, at this point to talk a little bit about public comment guidelines before we get into the public comment.
Thank you very much, Sue. And welcome everyone to our very first public hearing for the inaugural Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. Thank you. The public comment guidelines I'd like to briefly go through, including both in-person and remote participants, can be by telephone or virtual. This evening, our public comment time period will be up to 2 minutes, and you will hear the alarm when your time is up. The in-person public comments will be taking place first, and then they will be followed by our remote participants. Again, our public comment portal is available at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. And with that, I'll conclude the brief comments so we can get to public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Julianne. We will now begin the public comment portion of our meeting. Individuals who have signed up and indicated they would like to provide in-person public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. Please step to the nearest microphone when I call your number. You will have 2 minutes to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the timer. First in line to provide public comment, we'll have numbers 1 and 2 come to this mic to my left, and numbers 3 and 4 to the right. Number 1, you are now invited to address the commission.
Good evening. May I remove my mask to speak?
Yes, it's totally up to your comfort.
Thank you. My name is Chris Murphy, and I want to thank you very much for your time tonight and allowing me to describe to you my community of interest. I am the pastor at Horton Congregational Church, and my community of interest involves the churches in the Hanover-Horton area. 5 years ago, we came together and created a joint operating agreement. That agreement is made between 2 Methodist churches, a Free Methodist church, a non-denominational church, and my church, the Congregationalists. Together, our churches do all kinds of work in the community for the good of Jesus Christ. We, each and every week for the 12 months of the year, we provide food for the children in need in our community through our school system. We are able to do that with the aid of Compassionate Ministries, an organization that's housed at Jackson First Nazarene Church. So our community of interest is Jackson County, and Hillsdale County. One of our churches is located in Hillsdale County, and our youth go to a center there on Sunday evenings called Crossroads, where they participate as well. So we also are in very early stages of possibly creating a Habitat for Humanity home, and we're very excited about that. So because of the things that we do together, we are a group of like-minded people, and we are all doing this for one purpose, for the purpose of Jesus Christ. And so I think that it's vitally important that we keep our community of interest whole. So I thank you very much for your time and allowing me to explain this.
Thank you for addressing the commission.
Thank you for agreeing to do this monumental task. My name is Roberta Stanley. I live in East Lansing, Michigan. In my career, I worked on funding formulas in Washington, D.C. in the Congress. And so I became very familiar with the census and how it's applied. And I would be curious to learn how they have taught you and instructed you and how the US Census works. Excuse me. Do we have a problem? Okay. Anyway, how they have educated you. And then I would also like to talk about the communities of interest, because we used to make fun of North Carolina over a district that looked like a dragon, because it flowed up and down, and it went all over the state to pick up certain voters. Well, we have some of those in Michigan now. And I think that we need to concentrate on counties and communities that work and think together. Thank you.
Thank you. Just as a note, we want to make sure that we're going in the appropriate order. So I have you, number 3. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but you're invited to address the commission.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. My name is Connor Wood. I live here in Jackson. Members of the commission, thank you for being here, and thank you for your commitment to throwing out the old gerrymanders and drawing fair maps from scratch. And welcome to Jackson, home of my own personal favorite gerrymander. My sister over here mentioned the Dragon gerrymander in North Carolina. We have a similar one in Jackson County, the 65th State House seat, which goes from Eaton around the city of Jackson, cutting my neighborhood almost in half, and then down into Lenawee County. Full disclosure, as I'm sure my Republican friends here would point out, if I didn't, I am the chair of the Jackson County Democrats, but I'm not here asking you to draw me a blue district. I'm asking you to draw fair maps. What I'm asking for is a state house map that makes sense. You could very easily in Jackson County draw a state house district that consists of the city of Jackson and the immediately neighboring urban and suburban areas around it, surrounded entirely by a more rural district that incorporated the remainder of the county. That is what our state house districts looked like for decades, and it would allow for better representation of both the urban core and the rural part of the community separately from one another. And instead of 2 safe Republican seats, you would create a competitive seat in the center of the county that would still lean Republican, but would allow voters to have their voices actually heard and have their votes actually make a difference. And that's what this is all about, is giving voters a real authentic choice. And so by going with the, I call it the donut and the donut hole district for Jackson County, you will better preserve the urban and suburban core as a community of interest, better preserve the rural part in the out county as a community of interest, and further your goal of having more competitive maps statewide. Thank you again for everything that you all are doing. Welcome to Jackson. It's a great town. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for addressing the commission, and thank you for the warm welcome. Number 4.
Yes, I have some maps that I would like to give to you for reference for my comments. So my name is Monica Day, and I do live here in Jackson. The map that I presented for you shows proposed state house districts, 2 of them for the county. One would be an urbanized metropolitan area for the city of Jackson and the 3 surrounding townships, which include Leone, Blackman, and Summit. This is a roughly equivalent population to the rural exterior 16 townships. So it is relatively balanced in that regard, but there are major differences between urbanized and rural areas, namely infrastructure, which is one of our biggest public costs, is around infrastructure, and decisions that impact urban folks around infrastructure and infrastructure funding are not currently represented in the gerrymandered districts as they exist today. I am a country girl at heart. We have a home in Tompkins as well. My kids say, am I a country boy or am I a city boy? And even though we live in the city intentionally, we are quite comfortable in the country. So I love both places. However, the reason I think infrastructure in the city areas is so important is around wastewater and drinking water, as well as transit, planning and zoning, education funding, road maintenance. These are all issues that differ if you are living in a very low populated area versus a urbanized area. Thank you so much. This is a great day to be a Michigander. So happy to be here today.
Thank you for your time in addressing the commission. I would like to call numbers 5 through 8 to the mic, when we'll start with number 5.
Yeah, good evening, and thanks for all that you've already done and everything that you're getting ready to do. I really appreciate it. Excited to be a part of this. My name is Ryan Hussey. I live in Western Washtenaw County, Dexter. I represent 900 electrical workers and 65 electrical contractors. Our jurisdiction is Washtenaw County and Jackson County. So there's a lot of my members that live in Jackson County, work in Washtenaw, and vice versa. I think there's certainly a community of interest between businesses and workers in all the trades, quite honestly, that live in Jackson County and businesses too that cross county lines. So it makes a lot of sense to me for the district maps to be drawn in a way to where you work is represented by one person or one representative and where you live. Certainly a community of interest there. One other thing, as I mentioned, I live in Western Washtenaw. Broadband is pretty terrible there. It would be, and I know that there's a lot of rural areas in Western Washtenaw as well as in Jackson County that fall into that same category. I've talked to a lot of my members that have broadband issues, especially with the COVID. Kids going to school, I don't have to explain all that. It's been difficult, but it would be nice to have a representative to represent both of those populations in rural counties in Western Washtenaw and as well as in rural counties in Jackson. Again, thank you for your time and thank you for your efforts in this. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good night. Good luck.
Thank you. Number 6.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is James Johnson. I live in the rural Jackson area. I'm a tradesman of 21 years, and for 21 years, the majority of the time I've been driving into the sun to the Ann Arbor area for work. Living in the rural Jackson area, I have issues with broadband, of course. I only have 3 MPS, and during the COVID problems, it's hard for me to do all the Zoom meetings and teach kids via internet with just 3 MPS. And some of my same colleagues that I've worked with in Ann Arbor, they have the same issue. It would be nice to have a representative that represents me where I live and where I work. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Number 7.
Hello, commissioners. My name is Robert George, and I'm a resident of Ann Arbor. I wanted to raise before you some of the natural areas that affect my community. As a Parks and Recreations Commissioner for Washtenaw County and an avid parks enthusiast, I wanted to point to a couple of parks that cross over between Washtenaw County and Jackson County. The largest and the most fun, I might add, is the Waterloo State Recreation Area, which spans both counties. The recreation area is the largest state park in the Lower Peninsula and home to a diverse array of camping options, 11 inland lakes, an awesome trail system, a visitor center, and more. The Waterloo State Recreation Area is a major tourist draw for the broader region, but is a particular favorite of Jackson and Washtenaw County residents. Relatedly, Park Linden, which is a Washtenaw County park, is nested within the recreation area. Park Linden is a favorite spot for bird watching, which is a particular passion for many naturalists in both counties. Additionally, Watkins Lake State Park and County Preserve also straddles the Washtenaw-Jackson County line. This lovely park preserve is jointly administered by the State and County Parks and Recreations Department and is a focal point of recreation and natural exploration for both southeastern Jackson and southwestern Washtenaw counties. In summary, Jackson and Washtenaw counties share many great natural wonders. These natural preserves help support tourism, recreation, and learning for all ages. I would ask the commission to consider these crossover areas between these two counties as they develop communities of interest for this part of the state. Thank you so much and have a great night.
Thank you, Robert. Number 8, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. I cannot tell you what a thrill it is to be here to see you all together after so many Zoom calls that I've watched you in action. I am one of the thousands of foot soldiers who worked for Voters Not Politicians. I shouldn't say worked, I should say volunteered for Voters Not Politicians. And I knocked on over 1,000 doors trying to persuade people to vote in favor of Proposition 2 because I felt that gerrymandering is such an evil in our society. So it was very gratifying to see Proposal 2 pass. But I come tonight to talk about my community of interest and to talk in general about communities of interest throughout the state. Those are the school districts of the state of Michigan. I'm a past president of the school board, the Ann Arbor Public Schools, and I know that no issue is so important to people as the education of their children. Currently, although I live within the Ann Arbor Public School District, my section of the district doesn't vote with the rest of the school district. You've heard a lot about cracking and packing in your instructional materials. And my area has been cracked off from the rest of Ann Arbor, and we are grouped in with voters from communities north of us, such as Brighton and Howell. And our state senators do not particularly represent the interests of our community of interest. So I encourage you to use school districts as building blocks for your maps. No school district should be divided and voters within that district be represented by two different representatives in either the state house, state senate, or the legislature in Washington. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'll now call numbers 9 through 12. And number 9, when you reach the mic, we'll begin with you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Juliana Moore, and I live in Adrian Township in Lenawee County. I have lived in Lenawee County for 48 years. I have raised my family in Lenawee, and several of my children continue to live in this county and raise their children there. I continue to have strong ties to the community as a resident, employee, and volunteer. One of my biggest passions is my healthcare career and spreading healthy living in my community. I am a nurse and I teach diabetes education for the ProMedica healthcare system, a system that is a valuable asset both to Lenawee and Monroe counties. I also serve on the Lenawee Health Network, a group that was formed in 2011. This network is a group of community organizations that work collaboratively to improve the quality of health in our community. Other entities that work together within the network include Family Medical Center of Monroe and Lenawee, as well as United Way of Monroe and Lenawee. These community networks are important for improving the health of citizens within the community, but as well important as it applies to the government representation at the state and federal level. The dissociation of this network would be detrimental to the citizens who rely on them. For this reason, I advocate for the continued district association between Lenawee and Monroe counties as an important community of interest for the health and well-being of our citizens. Thank you for your time and dedication to the redistricting project. Have a great evening.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Number 10.
Good evening. Thank you for holding this. My name is Alex McKay. I'm from Freedom Township in Western Washtenaw County. I would encourage the commission to consider agricultural and rural communities like my own, of communities of interest for several reasons. First, these communities often hold common institutions like the Farm Bureau, 4-H, Future Farmers of America, and hunting clubs. Second, the economic model around agriculture and its needs are sufficiently different from suburban and urban areas that can be really difficult for an elected official to represent both. Third, rural areas tend to a much larger degree towards hunting and fishing for recreation. And finally, the practical difficulties of geography and distance mean that these areas face similar challenges like internet access, which has been talked about a lot tonight, police and emergency response, and road maintenance. While districts representing agriculture areas may have to be geographically large to meet population requirements, I would argue that these far-flung areas will hold more in common than they would with nearby cities and face similar challenges. Additionally, within these rural areas, I would encourage the commission to avoid splitting up school and library districts. In rural communities, it's most common for everybody to have attended that one high school and go to that one library. And that makes these not just places where you go get public services, but hubs of the community. Thank you for your time and undertaking this important task.
Thank you, Alex. Number 11.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Amador Ibarra. I'm a lifelong Jackson County resident. I'm asking for Senate District 16 to be redrawn because it currently does not reflect interconnected communities of interest in the area. Myself, my family, and friends spend a lot of time in the state and local parks, the rail to trail, bike and walking path in Jackson and Washtenaw counties. We also shop, attend community activities and events between Jackson and Washtenaw counties. Jackson County and Western Washtenaw County are an interconnected community formed by the contiguous line of parks and waterways, as well as various art and cultural events which are shared interests of both communities. Having communities of such strong commonality connected by Senate District will help focus regional needs more effectively. Thank you all very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Number 12.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Reinhout. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I live in Chelsea, actually Lima Township, so the rural part of Chelsea. And I'm a graduate of Vandercook Lake High School. And I attended what was Jackson Community College out at the Jackson Area Career Center now. I'm hoping the Redistrict Commission will keep the present 7th District as whole as possible. We have a large extended family in Jackson, Hillsdale, and Lenawee area. We identify with the unique characteristics of the rural community and smaller towns in the 7th District. It is especially important to the families who attend schools of choice on the borders of Washtenaw, Jackson, and Lenawee counties. In our case, our youngest child attended Grass Lake Schools as a school of choice, which enabled him to participate in a program at the Jackson Area Career Center, a program that was not available in Washtenaw County. Also, as an experienced youth leader, I would advise that we keep the networks intact that have been formed among our youth in programs such as Future Farmers of America, 4-H, and scouting organizations. Most of our recreational and public service work personally has been in the communities of the 7th District. My father owned a business in Jackson. I also own a business for which I rented space at the Commonwealth Commerce Center. Due to the COVID-19, I had to pull back on that, and give up my rented space there, but I look forward to resuming and reestablishing and expanding throughout the area as the rules are relaxed. Thank you.
Thank you. Numbers 13 through 16, and we'll start with 13 when you approach the mic.
Thank you for your work, commissioners. It would be nice, I suppose, if we didn't have to redistrict. Some people actually choose where to live based on representation. But because of population changes and fairness of representation, clearly some changes have to be made. Therefore, I would encourage you to follow strictly the Constitution and establish districts that have regularly shaped, compact, contiguous districts that follow to the greatest degree possible existing political boundaries. Besides the political entities having to deal with state and federal governments, there are many entities in these districts. For instance, police departments, fire departments, school districts, water and wastewater districts that may find need to deal with state and federal governments. There's no reason that they have to deal with more than one district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Number 14.
Good evening, commissioners, Commissioner Kellum. Welcome to beautiful Jackson County. My name is Charles Lang. I live in Spring Arbor Township. And there's a lot of things that I would like to share, but 2 minutes is not a lot of time. So I'm going to focus on my community of interest, which is the Jackson County Western School District. I've lived in Spring Arbor Township for 27 years, and I've paid a ton of tax money into our school district. And our school district in the county is greatly respected and loved by the people in my area. We have I-94 that runs directly through the heart of our school district. And with that being the case, to change House District 64, which serves our district so well, I believe that it would be a great disservice to our school district, to our students. Education is very important. My son is a junior at Western High School. And so we love our school district. We love our community. The school district serves areas such as Sandstone Township, Spring Arbor Township, Parma Township, part of Summit. And to keep us the way we are, represented by one House district, really does make a lot of sense. And we're just going to ask you, if you would please, to keep our community together, keep our school district as it is. It's working very, very well. We would ask you to not use I-94 as a reason to split our school district in two. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for serving.
Thank you. Number 15.
Good evening. My name is Darius Freenet. I live in Windsor Township in Eaton County. My message to the Redistricting Commission is that when it comes to communities of interest, that the commission respect the existing municipal lines. I chose to live in Windsor Township because of the country atmosphere. There's little, if any, connection to the Lansing capital area. I can see where Delta Township, which is an area about 8 miles north of me, could be added to that. They're much more suburban, more developed, kind of the main business district there. And I can see a case being made for that. However, Windsor Township and the other smaller communities in Eaton County really are more more rural in character. For example, where I live, I have farms to the north and south of me, and then the east and west, I'm kind of much more heavily wooded. There's also generational farms in the area. And I know from personal experience, a lot of those members of those families that have been there for years serve in the township or county government, or also their name is generally familiar with the public because they run businesses such as Price Sweet Corn. But I would encourage the commission to listen to the people who are generally interested in fair and equitable districts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Number 16.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you all being here. My name is Bruce Barland. I'm from Eaton County. And when you are redistricting Michigan, please think of the rural flavor of outstate Michigan. I grew up on a farm and appreciate how tough rural life can be. Please keep Michigan's 7th district rural to the greatest extent possible. The 7th district community is by and large rural now. Please keep it that way. Likewise, other areas of the state are urban. Urban area communities have interests in their urban areas. Urban areas of influence have different issues than rural areas of interest. Not just think about us. This is about our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and the future of Michigan and the United States of America. I want to thank you folks. You got a huge thing on your plate, and let's keep rural areas rural, and because that's what we are, is rural. Thank you much.
Thank you so much. Number 17 through 20. And just as a reminder, when you hear our fancy timer, you can still conclude your last sentence. You don't just have to cut yourself off. And you can go ahead.
Okay. My name is Vanessa Molnix, and I'm out of Springport Township, which is in the northwest part of Jackson County. I'm a little bit uncertain as to what to present tonight. So I'm going to offer what I have as my communities of interest. Recently retired out of the Lansing area, and I can confirm for those that have not yet retired that you will be busier in retirement than you were working. But my communities of interest revolve primarily around my family and my children, my grandchildren, and also, and they all reside in Jackson and in northern Hillsdale counties, by the way. And also the communities include the public school system, of which 2 or several of my children are directly involved, as well as my grandchildren, 7 grandchildren that all attend Jackson County Public Schools. That takes me all across the county when it comes to their extracurricular activities. I volunteer in Jackson County. I shop in Jackson County. My community of faith is in Eastern Jackson County. So my world pretty much revolves around the entire scope of this county. And also I live in a rural district, so the farming community, I live on a farm, and the farming community and the natural resources and the associated activities with that are really important to my communities of interest as well. I don't have any specific guidance related to the district lines. I'm fairly satisfied with what I have right now. And I appreciate this. I know you guys have been entrusted with a great responsibility. I'm sure you recognize it as a privilege, and I look forward to you guys carrying it out in a fair manner that respects the confidence and the trust that the citizens of the state have put in with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Vanessa. We appreciate your comment. 18.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is John Calhoun. I reside at Clark Lake, Jackson County. But tonight I'm representing the River Raisin Watershed Council. I'm the chairman of the Board of Directors. We are an area roughly the size of the state of Rhode Island, about 1,175 square miles, comprised of pieces of Hillsdale, Jackson, Lenawee, Monroe, Washtenaw, and parts of Monroe County and parts of Fulton County, Ohio. As the chairman for the last probably 5 years, we've seen dramatic improvement in the quality of the river. One of the things that most of you have been aware of is the giant algae bloom that occurs periodically on the Western Lake Erie Basin. We've worked hand in hand with farmers all along the watershed, and through their farmer initiative, they have made great strides in reducing phosphorus content of their fertilizer application and have done everything from building buffer zones, which prevent runoff into the streams and the feeder creeks that go into the river, that we're very, very proud of what we're doing. My request is that through this redistricting process, we have state representatives from that area who are currently well aware of what we're doing, working with us directly to secure grants and to help the overall condition of the river and as a recreation opportunity for the state of Michigan and its residents and protecting Lake Erie. We would appreciate your thoughts in the redistricting. Thank you.
Thank you. 19.
Hi, my name is Barbara Dane from Norval Township in Jackson County. I'm a Jackson District Library Board member. I'm here to ask that you keep the entire Jackson County District intact. There are currently 13 library branches located throughout Jackson County, and these branches work together with a common goal to support our community. All 13 branches provide adult services, community engagement, and youth services. The Jackson District Library branches promote connection within our community to ensure that patrons have access to the resources they need for success. And just a few examples are adult literacy classes, bookmobile deliveries, we have home deliveries, and an expanded internet access. JDL has built partnerships with community groups, including schools, community nonprofits, and cultural organizations. So please consider Jackson District Library as a community of interest and keep all of Jackson County together when you begin your work of compacting districts. Thank you for all that you're doing. I do have a map here that illustrates how Jackson District Library branches are distributed all through Jackson County, if I can bring this forward.
Thank you, Barbara. Number 20.
Hi, Commissioners. Thank you for being here. And thanks for the tough job you got ahead of you. My name is Jeff Fear. I live here in the city of Jackson. And I think most of the heavy lifting on communities of interest has already been done over the years. What I mean is programs, offices, and agencies have all been aligned based on demographics to create service areas already. And to divide these established and working service areas up, I think would do a disservice to the people that they serve. For example, Regional Planning Commission, the Aging Agency, the Department of Transportation, and even the governor's original coronavirus reopening plan serves Jackson, Hillsdale, and Lenawee counties.
So as you can see, this tri-county region relies heavily on each other for everything from roads to healthcare. I would strongly encourage you as a commission to look at the regional partnerships like the 4 I just named when drawing districts. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Numbers 21 through 24. And 21, when you reach the mic, you can begin.
Good evening. My name is Sue McCrellis. I've lived in Jackson County for 71 of my 74 years. Why leave, come back, and stay? Recently, 2 bikers pedaling by my home described Jackson as rural. I live 2 blocks outside the city limits. That surprised me, but it supplies the reason why Jackson County is my community of interest. Outside the city limits are 16 villages, 11 locally controlled school districts, some quite small, 3 small universities, 133 lakes, the watersheds of 3 major rivers, the Grand, Kalamazoo, and River Raisin, over 100 miles of trails, an excellent nature center and preserve, 2 large parks, Cascades and Ella Sharp. We have a small centrally located city, good locally available healthcare, adequate shopping, reasonable housing costs, a variety of great locally owned restaurants and shops, a large variety of citizen-funded facilities, services, clinics, and centers serving all people who are in crisis. Along with a hospital and prison as 2 of the largest employers, we have a manufacturing base and family-owned farms. As a biologist, I desire representation that reflects a comfortable knowledge of our need to protect our lakes and watersheds, understands good ecological agricultural practices, and the challenges of small communities and of operating small farms and industries. Nearby counties that may align with our concerns and culture could be Hillsdale, Branch, Eaton, and Lenawee. On the other hand, Eastern Washtenaw, Ingham, Western Calhoun, and Kalamazoo counties with their larger populations, large universities, and different economic base and culture would, in my opinion, have very different concerns. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to address the commission. Number 22.
The protection of Michigan's greatest natural resource is equal to the redistricting process undertaken by your esteemed body. I respect you for taking on this constitutional work, and frankly, I'm shocked that I have an opportunity to help. Michigan's water can best be protected by encompassing within our voting districts, in Jackson County's case, the Upper Grand River watershed. The city of Jackson and our county contain the Upper Grand River watershed, and these waters need the watchful eyes of voters united within a voting district. I'm Marguerite Clevenger. I live in what's called the urbanized subbasin of the Grand River watershed outside the city. Residents like myself, volunteering with our Watershed Alliance and other nature organizations in Ann Arbor and Detroit, communicate regularly also with Huron Watershed Council and get water quality reports on PFAS, E. coli, and other sewer discharge occurrences. Jackson and our urbanized Summit, Blackman, Leone Townships, and Grass Lake Charter Township west into western Washtenaw County, all with municipal separate storm, sewer, and water systems, meet regularly in downtown Jackson, along with the Upper Grand River Watershed Alliance. How can it be fair that Jackson is not in a district with these suburban or urbanized townships and another urban district? Instead, the city is lumped with rural townships of tiny rural farm communities. But we need to be connected also by a representative who is an urban dweller. Currently urban and Jackson is represented by 4 rural dwelling state and congressional officials. They all have septic systems, and yet they control urban budgeting. Please consider drawing a rectangular Senate district along I-94 that could join urban Jackson and all of our townships with the more urban areas of Western Washtenaw and Albion with its major river. Our Jackson County House districts could be divided into 1 city township district and 1 rural township. I ask you to remember, as you sharpen your pencils and start drawing lines, please don't flush Jackson.
Thank you, Ms. Clevenger.
Good
Number
evening.
23. Go
Good
ahead.
evening. My name is Tim Golding. Thank you for the sacrifice that you're all making by serving on this committee. I appreciate it. My family and I all enjoy outdoor activities, hunting, fishing, camping, and so forth. We enjoy doing those things in Jackson County, where we own a few properties, but we also use other private and state-owned lands in both Hillsdale, Jackson, and Lenawee counties. And therefore, those are my community of interest. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Number 24 and numbers 25 through 28 can begin approaching the mic as we start with number 24.
Good evening, Commissioners and Madam Chair. I'm Matt Dame and I reside in Norville Township in Jackson County, Michigan. I'm a board member of the Region 2 Area Agency on Aging, often referred to as the R2 AAA. There are 16 area agencies on aging throughout Michigan created through the Older Americans Act of 1965. The R2 AAA officially began in May of 1974 and is comprised of Jackson, Hillsdale, and Lenawee counties. The mission of the R2 AAA is to improve conditions affecting the lives of older adults and individuals with disabilities in the region by identifying concerns, by developing a comprehensive and coordinated network of services in Jackson, Hillsdale, and Lenawee counties, by enabling older adults and individuals with disabilities to function as independently as possible in their own homes and communities, and by providing advocacy, information, planning, program development, contracting, and the funding necessary to accomplish this purpose. So for 47 years, since 1974, through federal legislation, the counties of Jackson, Hillsdale, and Lenawee have been recognized as a region by the federal government, the state of Michigan, each respective county, and every municipality within Jackson, Hillsdale, and Lenawee counties. We do the best we can to take care of our most vulnerable with the resources we acquire from the federal government, the state of Michigan, and from generous donations from the community at large. I'm asking you to please keep the R2 AAA region intact so we can be as efficient as possible in our pursuit to help our seniors and disabled. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Number 25, please share your comments with the commission.
Thank you, commissioners, for doing this hard work. My name is Tad Weiser. I'm from way on the other side of Washtenaw County, but want to share a couple of reasons for my community of interest. I live in Ypsilanti Township, which like Jackson and Jackson County is an older industrial area surrounded by a rural area. But the coincidence that I really wanted to share tonight was that a few months ago, my wife set up a camping trip for us this week in Waterloo Recreation Area, not far from here, which made it very easy for me to attend tonight. And as I looked at the map, the Sugarloaf Recreation Area or campground where we're staying is right on the line between Jackson County and Washtenaw County. As far as I know, my wife Wanda may have slept in Jackson County last night and I slept in Washtenaw County. But it was this whole week we've been hanging out with both largely Washtenaw County and Jackson County residents at that campground. And to me, it reinforces the community of interest. Thanks so much for the work you're doing and keep it up.
Thank you, Tad. 26.
Delia Johnson, thanks for coming to Jackson. I have two suggestions. My first is that the townships surrounding Jackson would be put in the category with Jackson in the House of Representative districts with Jackson. That would be Leone, Blackman, and Summit. There's no reason that they should be out in the other districts, which are a lot of agricultural districts. And also in each of those areas, there are African-American voters. The African-American voters would be able to have a better power block to vote for candidates they wish to have. The second part of mine is that I would like to talk about the congressional district. Jackson is in a district which is below, which is south and rural. I think it would be better if Jackson could be paired up with Ann Arbor or Lansing, because we would have similar interests. Cities struggle with a lot of different problems. Good water, poverty, hiring practices, policing, gun violence. And I think it would be just the right thing to do is to put cities of not exactly equal size, but cities with similar concerns together. Another thing is that I'm involved in a group that's working for racial equity. And I think if we were paired up with Washtenaw or Lansing, we would be able to vote for legislators that cared about racial equity. And we would be able to join forces and learn from each other how to do the best work in racial equity. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Number 27.
Hi, my name is Becky Cook and I live in Springport, Michigan in Jackson County. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes to speak. As I thought about what a community of interest might be, I tried to think of my work, my hobbies, and the region. I work in home health care. So I decided that wasn't a very specific community of interest since there are home health care workers all over the state. One of my hobbies is watching and enjoying NASCAR. This made me realize that the Michigan International Speedway, located on the edge of Jackson and Irish Hills and Lenawee counties, has a strong impact on our region. Michigan International Speedway is the only NASCAR track in Michigan, and it brings visitors from all over the state and Midwest. The races and events that happen at the Speedway create a strong economic connection between Jackson and Lenawee and are the perfect example of a community of interest. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Number 28 and numbers 29 through 32 can begin approaching the mic if you're comfortable. 28.
Hi, my name is Marcy Jankovich. My community of interest is the firearm community. First-time gun owners, young and old from across the country, are helping to push record levels of gun sales for what looks like a second year in a row. U.S. gun sales in the first 4 months of 2021 surged 31%. This makes it among the largest figures since sales started to be recorded in 1998. These buyers are white, Black, Asian, and Latino, and come from all political beliefs. They're being driven by the uncertainty, fear, and need to feel safe. Training in the safe handling of firearms is critical, not only in our community of interest, but in all communities. Here in the Jackson area, we are not just defined by I-94. 127 also runs north and south through our county. And 127 and I-94 is sort of an epicenter for where people work and shop and play. I serve as leader of the Well-Armed Women chapter, a shooting chapter here in Jackson County. Our mission is to educate, equip, and empower women in the safe handling of firearms. We provide classroom education as well as certified instructor supervised live fire training. We launched our chapter in 2016 and we were going to be thrilled if 20 ladies showed up. More than 100 women showed up, and our members, we currently have 70 active members, come from Jackson, Lenawee, and Hillsdale counties. My veteran son and I also own Michigan Combat Dynamics, a firearm training company located in the Parma area. Our students also come from Hillsdale, Lenawee, Jackson, and sometimes Southern Eaton County. And those areas share a gun culture not present in other areas. We are also members of the Brooklyn Sportsman's Club in Southern Jackson County, one of the sponsors of the Well-Armed Woman. And also in Jackson County are several outdoor clubs. We have attended events at the Hillsdale Range and Training Facility at Hillsdale College, who even have an Olympic quality program. We're supported by many gun ranges and stores in the area who sponsor our activities. And I desire representation that facilitates our shared mission to educate, equip, and empower women and all others in the safe handling of firearms. Geographically, Jackson, Lenawee, and Hillsdale County are the most accessible for those citizens in my firearm community. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 29.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Ian Robinson. I live in Ann Arbor, teach at the University of Michigan, and I'm the president of the Huron Valley Area Labor Federation, AFL-CIO. Our organization, our federation, spans Washtenaw and Jackson counties, and many of the approximately 50 affiliates that are part of the federation also have jurisdictions that span both counties. So from our point of view, from the point of view of workers and the organizations that workers have created to represent them, the combination of Washtenaw and Jackson counties makes a lot of sense. It's also true that we work closely with the United Ways in both Jackson and Washtenaw counties, and that the labor service people that work with the United Ways communicate with each other, share ideas and best practices. So there's a lot of interchange at the level of people who are working in the community, serving people in need in both communities, as well as the workers who belong to our unions. And lastly, just at the most aggregate sort of level, my understanding is that approximately 11% of workers in Jackson County actually commute to work in Washtenaw County. So we have a lot of interchange at the level of people and how they're employed. So those are the considerations that make me think that community of interest from a working person's point of view really would lead us to want to keep Washtenaw County and Jackson County together as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. 30.
Hello, commissioners. My name is Elizabeth First, and I am from Jackson, city of Jackson, and also Jackson County. I wanted to thank you for being here, especially the commissioner who is a medical student. You must be making a great sacrifice, so I appreciate that. I had prepared remarks. I sent these to you in email, but I will read them to you now. My remarks are in the form of questions. For question 1, currently the Michigan 7th District includes Eaton, Branch, Hillsdale, Lenawee, Monroe, Jackson, West Washtenaw counties, as you know. Eaton County is not fully contiguous to the bulk of the rest of the district as it lies west of Ingham County, which is Lansing. Can we perhaps assume that Eaton County will no longer be drawn into the 7th per your redistricting rules and standards? My second question, Jackson County contains 4 MDOC facilities, Cooper, Cotton, Parnell, and the reception center. Although numbers fluctuate at these facilities, in the facilities combined, there can be approximately 5,000 inmates who then have been and are counted as residents of Jackson County, and therefore in the 7th District. In regard to prison gerrymandering, what are your plans to use and or include these population numbers in redrawing the 7th and for any other district that contains confined persons who may or may not likely be originally from the county or the district or even the state that they are counted in? My third point, I echo previous speakers about the Waterloo Recreation Area is defined as a community of interest. The concept of community of interest can be widely defined by many criteria, including broad cultural or quality of life features that are shared mutually by community, according to Clara Hendrickson, of the Detroit Free Press. Quote, there is no official MIRC definition, but the Waterloo Recreation Center seems to fit that definition. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much. 31.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you for the work that you do. My name is Mike Cox. I've been a resident of Jackson County for 25 years. I've worked the last 30 years as an electrical tradesman throughout Jackson and Washtenaw County. Spent the majority of my career in Washtenaw County. As anybody knows that drives 94 in the morning or late afternoon, I'm not alone in my situation. There are a lot of residents that live in Jackson County that work in Washtenaw County. And I believe we share the same interests. I would like to see fair representation or the same representation as much as possible in both of these areas. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Mike. Numbers 32 through 35. And remember, even though you're sharing with us in person, please go to our public comment tool and share your comments in writing, including any specific area that you're referring to as you're speaking to us. Number 32, you can begin.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners, for your dedication to what you're undertaking. My community's interest has struck me as I moved to Jackson County 50 years ago next week in the hospitality industry. And immediately during that time period, it was a devastating economic downturn for Jackson in as far as machine shops and workforce. Fortunately, somebody brought the idea of the Michigan Speedway, and though it failed the first 2 years, Roger Penske bought what was later became MIS for $2 million on the steps of the Tecumseh Courthouse, which is like a great awakening for us that our biggest tourism asset was actually in a neighboring county. That spurred us as I got older and we developed more sophisticated lodging and a CVB, that this was an integral, an intrinsic relationship with the Irish Hills area that we had to keep going. We depend on our congressional district and our representation, not only for the tourism that it brings, but how it affects everything else that's going around with that, which is the waterways, the roads, the eco waterways, the wetlands, the bridges, and all these things that were needed to have this symbiotic relationship. Even the airport, we depend on the Tecumseh Airport and the Jackson Airport, both federally regulated agencies. So I ask you to keep this in mind and keep this into consideration. We would like to continue to have representation that keeps all three of these counties, communities' interest, as well as his or her own. Thank you.
Thank you. 33.
I'm a little bit taller. My name's Terry McKinnon. I live here in Jackson County in Leone Township. For 25 years, I've worked in Washtenaw County. Nobody can realistically say that the city of Jackson, Leone Township, Blackman Township, or Summit Township, which surround them, are rural areas. They are not. They are suburban and urban areas. The issues that they face, their communities of interest, are very different from the rural counties that surround them. I believe wholeheartedly that rural counties have important issues that matter, and they need advocates in the political process that will stand up for their issues. But those are not the same issues as the people who live in suburban and urban communities. and they also deserve representation. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about representation. We're talking about people who are being taxed and deserve to have representation. The entire time I've lived here in Jackson County, I have not had a representative who is fighting for the interests or issues that I care about. And that is because I have rural representatives. I want to be represented, but even more than that, because of the extreme partisan gerrymandering that exists in Jackson County, I also rarely have an actual choice when I'm voting. Because of the extreme partisan gerrymandering that exists in my congressional district, my state house district, and the Senate district, people do not run for office because they know they can't win. And that means my voice has been taken away. Not only do I not have somebody fighting for the issues that matter to me, I don't even get a choice in the matter. You guys have a next to impossible job, and bless your hearts, to try to draw fair and reasonable districts in this state. Please, please think about who are fighting for the issues that those people who live in those communities that are affected every single day, who's advocating for their issues, and are they the same? I would really like to see something wonderful come out of what you're doing, and I believe that it could. Please think about these people. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry, for using your voice today. 34.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing? My name is Eric Cullum. I live on a lake association outside the village of Onstead. And what I first was going to do when I was going to ask you to consider how many lake associations are within the area of Eastern Hillsdale, Southern Jackson, Western Washtenaw, and Northern Lenawee. There's a lot of lake associations. As the gentleman was talking about the River Raisin watershed, it's very important to these lake associations for the vitality of the lakes we live on. I know this is the Great Lakes state, but sometimes the representation is more about those Great Lakes. Sometimes what we do on the lake associations is a minor thing, but with your redistricting, your redrawing, it might become more important if a representative has those concerns in mind when it comes to the lakes, the smaller lakes association. But as I was listening to everybody here, community of interest in a way is a selfish thing. And that's not a bad thing because we're a community of interests. We have all these things at heart. Many of these people spoke from their heart. And I guess what I would ask you folks to consider is when you're looking at the map and you're looking how, I'm assuming you may or may not, how it voted Democrat or if it were voted Republican, and I don't know how you could do it, God bless you, that you look within the community and see what those groups, all these groups that are represented here, what they were telling you today, what is their interest? It won't be easy, but I hope you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 35.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for the chance to speak. My name is Chris Smith, and I live in the city of Saline in Washtenaw, which is situated right next to the dividing line between two congressional districts, the 7th, which Saline is in, and the 12th, which is the district I lived in just prior to moving to Saline in 2018. Both of these districts were drawn by a Republican legislature for partisan advantage, the 7th to provide a safe majority to elect a Republican representative, and the 12th to pack in Democrats and weaken their ability to elect candidates in other districts like the 7th. As a result, the people who get elected to Congress in both of those districts, they don't really need to pay attention to all of the voters that they represent. They really only have to pay attention to the prevailing views in their own party. So I'm sure you know that's the very problem that we Michigan voters hired you to solve. I urge you, if you can, to draw district maps that will split partisan voters as close to 50-50 as possible in all 13 congressional districts and in the state house and senate districts as well.
Doing so will give minority party voters in districts like the 7th and 12th their voices back. And I believe we'll see fewer extremists getting into Congress and the legislature as a result. Candidates will have to take the views of all the voters in their district into account, and rather than just catering to the prevailing views in their own party. Promoting moderation in this way will discourage useless partisan bickering and bring our state together so we can be a model for unity at a time when our nation's divisions are being exploited by malevolent people both at home and abroad. As for communities of interest, I think I'd like to echo the statement a gentleman made earlier to use local school districts as building blocks. When I moved from Pittsfield Township, where I used to live, to my current house, I changed both congressional district and state house districts. And so I think it just makes sense for people who live within a given school district to have one person to go and talk to, bring their issues to in all of those legislative bodies. Thank you again for your time and for the efforts on this very important work that's before you.
Thank you, Chris. Numbers 36 through 39. And 36, when you approach the mic, you can begin speaking.
Good evening. Thank you for your service. It's a tough job and it has to occur every 10 years. I live in the most gerrymandered congressional district in the state of Michigan, 11th congressional district. It starts out with representing the western tier townships and cities in Wayne County, moves north into Oakland County, representing the western tier townships and cities. And then somebody threw a rope around Pontiac. They just threw a missile or a football over there, and they said, I think Rochester Hills should be connected to this district. You ought to look at that map. I don't know how that ever happened. So we don't feel in the western tier communities of Wayne County and Oakland County that we're being represented at all. Our representative lives way over there in Rochester Hills. I think it's, 20, 30 miles from her district. And so we'd like you to have you correct that. And in general, I think you need to observe county boundaries and township boundaries, and that'll eliminate a lot of the gerrymandering. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 37.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm a resident of Waterloo Township and Jackson County. As a former employee of our state's Economic Development Agency, I had the opportunity to present to and encourage businesses from other countries and states to choose Michigan for its new business or expansion location. Once they selected Michigan, I was responsible to connect the businesses to all of the workforce resources available within 45 to 60 miles to help find skilled talent. Resources could be high schools and their career technical education programs, community colleges and universities, or trade schools. Most businesses make their location selection based on the available educated and skilled workers in the area. I experienced firsthand what it takes to recruit and train workers for a new business coming to a community. It goes far beyond a village to make it be successful. It actually takes villages. It truly helps to work across communities with similar available resources to ensure the success of developing a pool of skilled talent within a region. For example, there is a significant difference in how schools communicate with and educate their students who have broadband internet access compared to students who may live further away from the school and do not have broadband. The students whose household cannot afford broadband or it just simply is not available in their area end up struggling to obtain their homework posted online and turn in their assignments online as requested or required. These students are forgotten, left to fall behind, and may not have the skills to get that job at the new plant that opened in their area. My point is for the commission to consider aligning communities that have similar resources and representation that will harmoniously support economic and workforce development projects within a region. Representation must understand the immediate needs of a region to help it thrive. Thank you for your time and for your service to this commission.
Thank you so much. 38.
Good
Good evening, Commissioners. I want to thank the committee for hearing input from citizens on this important topic tonight. My name is Bill Richardson. I'm from Waterloo Township. Seems like we've heard that a lot tonight. My community of interest is the rural area that I live in today, which is Waterloo Township, Jackson, Michigan. It's low density, has a lot of biking trails, horse trails, campsites, lakes for boating, water skiing, that type of thing. We also have half of our township is owned by the DNR. I'm an athletic person and enjoy the outdoors, so I enjoy being in an area that offers these types of resources to me. My area currently holds outdoor athletic events like triathlons, gravel road, bike races, 5K, 10K running events through vineyards, these types of things. My community of interest has low light pollution that makes it stars pop at night and has low traffic levels, so there's no congestion and minimal noise. It's quiet and I like it that way. These things are very much in contrast with noisier, more congested, light polluted, higher density areas such as cities. Not implying those are bad things, they're just different and different people prefer different things. People that live in the city enjoy close proximity to restaurants, retail shopping, and museums. This is great for them, but different for expectations in rural areas. I myself lived in more densely populated areas until my late 20s, but since that time have become more fond of rural areas for the reasons already mentioned. Point is that people in rural and high density areas such as cities have different preferences and resource requirements and should therefore have different representation. Representation that understands and values those preferences and can represent them when it comes to making laws and resource allocation. District lines should be drawn with this in mind. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. 39.
My name is Frederick Trexler. I'm a volunteer with Community Action Agency in Jackson, Lenawee, and Hillsdale counties. And I volunteer with the VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, that is in those counties. And we also draw clients from neighboring counties. I'm asking you to keep Jackson, Lenawee, and Hillsdale counties as part of the 7th Congressional District. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, we're excited to hear from the rest of you, and we will. We're going to take a short break for stretching in the restroom, if you don't mind, so we can continue on and to hear your thoughts. Ten minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, this is where I live, so I understand.
Yeah, she got a bunch of people clapping for her, and yeah, it was eloquent.
for taking the time to mingle and take care of yourself. Breaks are important. And now we'll have, stepping to the mic, numbers 40, 41, 42, and 43. Forty, you can start.
Thank you, Commission and Madam Chairwoman. Thank you for this very hard work you've taken on our behalf. I'm Brian Greminger. I'm from Lodi Township in western Washtenaw County. Got a stable across the road to the east, a working dairy farm about a half mile down the road to the west. So yeah, when the wind's right, it's very so that's the natural community that I'm talking to. I could whine about rural internet, but you've already heard that tonight. It's been very hard to work from home for the last year. But there's something else that some people have not mentioned, and that's the importance of that 94 corridor that runs west from Ann Arbor. For us in western Washtenaw County, we don't have a lot in common with the city itself. A lot of the services stop right at the border. So we tend to look west, both for commerce, for recreation. I mean, we've got that Detroit to Chicago train line that runs through Ann Arbor and Jackson that serves as one way to identify a community of interest. We've got 94, of course, but right now at the state Senate level, Western Washtenaw doesn't have enough people to qualify for its own district. So we got to join up with somebody else. And currently that's set to be Livingston, which is north of us. We don't go north. When I was looking for a wood stove, I came to Jackson. When I look for maintenance on tractor, I come to west. I don't want to try to go through Ann Arbor and the traffic around it. The mic's cutting out, I'm sorry. But that's the point that I would like to bring out, that we look west instead of north. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 41.
Thank you for organizing a very smoothly running hearing. My name is David Foster, and I reside in the city of Jackson. I would like to address the concept of communities of interest as the basis for establishing election district lines, and address it from the standpoint of a personal experience. To draft voting district lines on the basis of communities of interest in preference to municipal boundaries has a certain appeal. Legislators elected from an extended area with common interests such as manufacturing or agriculture or bedroom community can better focus on the needs of their sector. In the past, assembling the information needed to determine a population's common threads was much more demanding than most people could grasp. Today, powerful computers enable professionals and indeed citizens in general to assemble maps and map layers that reveal generalized common themes. We call these maps and data a GIS, or Geographic Information System. Today, identifying many communities of interest can easily be accomplished using a GIS. In the 1970s, I found myself evaluating land use in upstate New York. I learned that in the years following World War II, one township adjacent to its city was transformed from 100% agricultural to completely suburban in just 3 election cycles. Meanwhile, across the township line in the next county, the land remained almost exclusively in farming. With the excellent data sets available today, it's easy to identify present land use and its associated community interests. However, it's important to note that such analyses address current land use only. This fact supports the notion that using existing municipal boundaries is preferable to carving up those municipalities into multiple districts. Thank you.
Thank you. 42.
I'd like to thank the commission for the opportunity to make an address to them tonight. And my name is Rob Zimmerman. I'm from Pittsfield Township in Washtenaw County. In our almost 30 years in Michigan, we've had 7 congressional reps. We've had 2 houses. We have our own identity in Pittsfield Township, and we're told we're among the top 10 diverse communities in Michigan. There is no downtown Pittsfield, but the downtowns of Ann Arbor, Saline, Ypsilanti, and Milan provide choices for shopping and other services that we take advantage of all of them as competition best allows us. Most importantly, the people of Pittsfield Township have a distinctly identity from these 4 cities and have chosen to live and stay in Pittsfield due to its unique vibe and related characteristics. Perhaps many other townships throughout Michigan share a same perspective and don't wish to necessarily identify exclusively with a neighboring city or town. Do ask that we don't split our communities, but keep our existing municipalities as unified as possible, because we don't want our local elected leadership to have to deal with multiple layers and distinct elected representatives at other levels of state and federal government. That we want our elected reps working as a team. If we're going to pass legislation to move Michigan forward, it's nice to have reps working with senators and being able to move things up the food chain. Strongly consider mapping our 13 remaining congressional districts first, and then the state senators underneath that again, because I know the math is tough because 13 doesn't evenly divide into 38, and 110 doesn't divide evenly into 38. But the concept is that we want our elected representatives to be working together as best as possible in areas of common interest once they get elected to best serve all of us. When we're having our elected reps work with too many people at other levels, the message tends to get diluted, and it leads to a lot of squandering of good opportunities that we want to enhance as part of a commission and our citizenship rather than having further diluted. Thank you so much.
Thank you. 43.
Number 43, Richard Petty's number. Thank you, Commission. My name is Dave Stoll. I appreciate you taking community voices. I have grown up and lived in Washtenaw County my whole life, Western Washtenaw County, and now reside in the northwest corner of Washtenaw County. It's very rural, and it's more like Jackson County than it is Ann Arbor or the rest of Washtenaw County. I feel strongly about living in a rural area where it is blessed with nature, and I feel that my representative needs to be in tune with that. So please keep that in mind when you're making your decision. God bless you and good luck with your decisions. Thanks.
Thank you so much. For the purposes of the public watching us in here and the public record, our 44th public comment has decided not to comment. So we'll be moving on to numbers 45 through 48. So 45, you can approach the mic and begin, as well as 46, 47, and 48. You are free to stand in line. And again, we welcome everyone to utilize our public comment tool and share your comments in writing in anything specific that you're mentioning today. 45, you can begin.
Good evening. My name is Granville Hayworth. I'm from Jackson County. I'd like to speak to you this evening about my community of interest. My family and I live in an agricultural community. Our neighbors, my family and I live the agricultural country lifestyle. From raising livestock, working with our horses, farming as a business, hunting in the spring or fall, everyone in my community has the same basic desire as well as same basic interests. Our community is stretched from village to village across township lines and multiple counties in all directions of the compass. I buy hay for my cows and my horses, from my neighbor down the road, and from a farm miles away. My community drives tractors on the road in the spring and combines from field to field in the fall. We even have a day at school, drive your tractor to school day. We work in the barn all hours of the night. We get calls from our neighbors early in the morning. Hey, did your cows get out? Our community is diverse in people from all walks of life, rich with traditions and heritage, unified in a single purpose and that purpose is to live in the country. I would encourage the committee to keep the rural communities of interest in mind when designating district lines of state representatives, state senators, and U.S. representative. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. 46, please.
Hello, my name is Granville Hayworth III. I am from the village of Springport in Jackson County. The community of interest that I wish to speak about tonight is the rural communities. As number 45 has gone over, it is a very interesting culture that our rural communities have. And I believe that these should be preserved and thought after when you draw up the districting maps, so they are not lumped into the more metropolitan and suburban areas, so we can preserve that type of culture. I would implore you all to think of all that when you draw up your districting lines. I thank you for your time.
Randall, thank you so much for sharing with us. 47.
Thank you, Commission Chair Kellum, for your time tonight. I'm Tony Bear, Jackson County, Sandstone Township. For me, the 7th District, Congressional District, 16th Senate, and the 64th House suit me just fine the way they are. We have a shared community of interest in these districts. Multiple shared community interests. Region 2 Area Agency on Aging provides adult services to senior citizens and handicapped adults. And Region 2 Area Agency represents Hillsdale, Jackson, and Lenawee County. The Region 2 Planning Commission serves all citizens' interests relative to parks, roads, non-motorized trails, and the planning of such for Hillsdale, Jackson, and Lenawee County. We have 4-H county divisions for all 4-H groups. We have an active one in Jackson County, Hillsdale, Lenawee. Michigan State University Extension 4-H program includes these counties plus western part of Washtenaw County. These areas are all agricultural and rural, so that's our shared community of interest. Western Washtenaw County fits in character much better with Hillsdale, Jackson, and Lenawee than Eastern Washtenaw County. We have a shared interest in our library district, our school districts. We have shared fire and ambulance districts, shared recreation opportunities between these 3 counties and Western Washtenaw County. Department of Corrections has common interest in these areas. Chamber of Commerce, the same thing. Our election administrators have an easier job when the boundaries are kept consistent with counties, townships, that they're not divided. So I would like to keep all of the Jackson in District 1, or district that we.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Your 2 minutes has.
Thank you.
Has gone, but thank you so much for sharing. And 48, 49, 50, and 51, you can approach the mic. And we apologize if our timer isn't loud enough. So please don't take it personal if I have to cut you off. Please utilize our public comment tools, nothing personal. There's no 48? Okay, so we'll continue with 49. And if 48 returns, please let us know.
Thank you. My name is Warren Renando. I'm asking for you to create a very compact district, particularly at the state level, centered around the urban townships, the urban parts of the townships of Blackman, Summit, and the city of Jackson. These are all very dense. I live in Summit Township, but I have streetlights, curb gutters, storm sewers, all that. There are large parts of the township, both of them, which have Holsteins and are very rural. And I think one of the things that you're going to have to do here when you're drawing the districts is to understand that cities in Michigan have not been able to annex in 50 years. You have developed a very urban township character and a very rural township character. And to some degree, to make districts that make sense, you're going to have to split some of these urban townships. I would like to see you create a congressional district that runs along the entire southern border of the state of Michigan, which is largely rural, largely involved in farming, and has representation, which seems to indicate they follow the advice and needs of that section. Our urban areas, Blackman, Summit, this perhaps need to be better served in the urban areas by congressional representation that would be closer aligned with Lansing and the more dense areas to the north of this area. So I would not be adverse that if you had to split the county, split it along urban and rural areas, there are many people who live in the rural area of Jackson County who would like to stay rural. You've heard several of them here. Many of us who live in the urban areas would like to see us in a more dense, more representative district, and with a representative that, let's just say, represents our points of view and interest more. Is that the end of it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. 50?
Good evening. My name is Hank Choate, and I welcome the opportunity to speak to you tonight. So speaking of community of interest, my community of interest is agriculture. I am a farmer, Southern Jackson County. I still work the ground that my forefathers homesteaded in 1837. We are 16 years away of celebrating 200 years of continuous ownership. As I speak, my community of interest is agriculture. Like I say, 3 miles from the county lines of Jackson, Lenawee, and Hillsdale County where they intersect. And so as I grew up as a young individual, participating in youth fairs of Jackson, Hillsdale, and Jackson, Hillsdale, and Lenawee County. My kids and my grandchildren continue to do the same. I found it interesting, the individual from Washtenaw County that has to come to Jackson for his lawnmower parts. I would ask him to try to find a location for your combine parts. I can travel 5 miles and hit probably a half a dozen lawnmower dealers. To find an implement dealer that handles a combine, I have to go to either Hillsdale County, Jackson County, or well north of Lansing. And so again, I may sound a little bit selfish in regard to trying to keep the rural areas of Jackson, Washtenaw, or I should say the western portion of Washtenaw, and primarily Lenawee and Hillsdale County together, to where not only hopefully my kids that are farming with me will be able to see 200 years of celebration where my family homesteaded. And so again, my grandchildren, they are active in youth involvement as well. in Jackson, Lenawee, and Hillsdale County. And thank you.
Thank you so much. 51.
Good evening. Thank you so much for your efforts for our communities in our state. I can't imagine the workload that you have ahead of you. I thank you. My name is Marion Gray. I live in Horton, not far from here. In preparing for today, I thought about how I live, my lifestyle, how I travel, my choice of a healthy living lifestyle and where I travel. I do business primarily in Jackson and Hillsdale County. Both counties offer extensive access to quality, fresh goods, and I appreciate that and how that helps my family stay healthy. I far prefer the offerings of the rural Jackson and Hillsdale lifestyle. I've often said, though, even growing up, that what I really appreciated was that I could live a country lifestyle, but I had access to everything city that I would need or want. And if I wanted more, I was within easy distance of Ann Arbor or Chicago or Detroit. And I felt that that was a healthy way to grow up. And now as grandma, I think it's a great way to raise my family. I do like to see these two areas stay together and be represented by the same representatives. I feel that that would be healthiest for this community. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you so much, Miriam. 52, 53, 54, and 55, you can approach.
Good evening. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for taking on a task that most people wouldn't want. It's a job that you know that you're not going to make everyone happy. And also, I'd just like to say thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Bob Gray. I live near Horton. I started a small construction business in 1972. I'm still in operation all those years. Most of the work I've done has been in surrounding rural communities, but I've also spent a considerable amount of time working in some of the states, the larger cities in Michigan. In the process, I see a big difference in the needs and requirements of these two different kinds of communities. I don't want to belabor you with all the things that have already been said several times. I just would like to say that I hope that you can draw these redistricting lines in a fashion that will best represent both types of communities. Thank you.
Thank you. 53.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Lowe's. I am a teacher at Jackson High School, just down the road here. I am a resident of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I am the current president of the Jackson Education Association. I want to start out by thanking you for offering your time to be part of this commission and of course for being here today. As you've already heard several times, Jackson County's current map could at best be called surreal. Looking at the map makes me think of children looking for shapes in clouds but the cause for this is far less innocent and the effect is far more harmful. Jackson area and many others are much like my home of Ann Arbor, a central urban or suburban area surrounded by a far more rural one. But the current district maps do not reflect the reality of those communities they serve. At the end of the day, I believe that regardless of your political persuasion, your voting history, or where you live, we are all best represented when our elected officials are selected in fair and most importantly, competitive contests that require them to be representatives of as many of the people in their district as possible, rather than just a partisan base. Every fall, I encourage my 18-year-old seniors to register and go vote for the first time. But many of them can't vote yet. When they do, I want them to be confident that their vote really counts and makes a difference for them, their families, and their communities. I very much hope that you can help make that reality across the state. Again, I thank you for your service in this Herculean task, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much, Jeff. 54.
Excuse me, I was 53. Maybe we had two 53s.
Well, we love it. 53.
Okay. So, okay, well, hello, and thank you very much for your service. My name is Kathy Johnson. I live in Eaton Rapids, which is in Eaton County. Eaton Rapids is a small rural city with several rural cities within 15 minutes or so of each other. I love where I live because I'm surrounded by my community interests. Our city is unique in that it is built on an island, and we are surrounded by the Grand River. So we have lots of kayaking and fishing, and we also have multiple foot trails that are dense wooded areas, as well as plenty of farmlands. And these are all important community interests to me. That's why I moved there. Life within small communities allows us ability to know our legislators, businessmen and women, as well as other local community leaders. We are a team. We develop local community interests that are important to us. And I ask that you would please keep in mind that it is very important that those who represent community interests are actually a part of their community. The 7th district is mainly rural, and our community of interest truly represent that. Please protect our rural community interests. I sincerely encourage you to please keep rural districts intact. Thank you very, very much for your dedication to this very important task. And also, I just want to commend you. This meeting was ran really nicely, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate being able to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. 54.
Hello, my name is Russ Jennings. I live in Jackson County's Leone Township. I would like to thank the commission for allowing us community put the input in that you let us do today. Leone Township is geographically the 2nd largest township in the state of Michigan. It is mostly rural with several lakes, parks, and recently added motorized trails connecting many areas of the township, Jackson County, and surrounding locations. Leone Township shares police and fire services with neighboring township, Blackman Township. We are both in the 65th House District. Interstate 94 runs east and west through both our townships, right directly through the middle, along with Jackson County, runs right through the center. Blackman Township and Leone Township also share US 127. My concern with suggested redistricting to avoid municipal boundary lines to create possible new districts will require the commission to use landmarks such as interstates, rivers, etc. to draw lines. With the geographical size and the nearly 14,000 people that live in Leone Township, using such landmarks such as 94 to be considered as possible redistricting boundary could divide my township into multiple districts. Disrupting our unique community bond, I also feel it may also create an added burden and expense to the townships when it comes to elections. I ask the commission to please consider these issues when making an attempt to keep our communities whole and possibly keep Leone Blackman Township in the 7th Congressional District, the 65th House District, and the 16th Senate District. Thank you for being here tonight. When you leave here, please enjoy downtown for dinner or something, and maybe a podium would be helpful.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. We'll have 55.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good evening, commissioners. I am so glad to see you all. I worked very hard the last couple of years with voters, not politicians, to be able to bring the community together to register to be in the seats that you're in right now. So I'm glad to see the mix that sits before me today. As the guy before me said, he wants to see the Leone Blackman Township stay whole. He probably never walked it. I ran for county commissioner 3 times, and I had to walk. And the community in this district is so zigzag that I walked and knocked over 7,000 doors myself. But the area was so split up. I had to jump from this side of town to that side of town to this side of town just to get to my neighbors, just to knock my doors. No, it needs to be redrawn. It really needs to be drawn correctly with fair and equities in mind of the people who live in those areas. My communities of concerns vary. In the job that I do from day to day, I'm out in the community. I see the needs of the people. I work every day making sure that the community basic needs are met. And I see that our kids' needs are not met. I see our senior citizens' needs are not met. I know that the representatives that represent Jackson, Leone, Hillsdale, some parts of Washington, they don't come into our communities. They don't see the need or meet the need of the community people that I work with every day. They don't even know who these people are. They've never knocked their doors. They've never done anything for those people. So I hope and I pray that when you do this redistricting and drawing of this community, that you think of everybody. Everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What number were you? I'm sorry. Okay, 55? Yep, okay. Okay, thank you all. 56, 57, 58, and 59, you can approach. And we'll start with 56.
Hello, commissioners. Good evening. My name is Kathleen Perez, and I'm here to speak about Jackson County's unique importance in the state as a manufacturing hub. My husband's grandfather began his screw machine business in 1919 and have presently been in traditional manufacturing for over 100 years. Today, they produce precision machine components and primarily serve the transportation industry. Our family has grown and now extends into the fourth generation who work at the 5 plants in the surrounding townships, which extend within a 30-mile radius. We have approximately 300 employees working for the various companies in the nearby townships. Mass production requires multiple processes from various companies in the surrounding area. I counted 27 companies that we use daily, which are an important link to the creation of driving American jobs. JAMA, which is Jackson Area Manufacturing Association, is important to our surrounding business and educational community. We are very codependent of each other. Today, there are over 250 companies registered as a manufacturer in the Jackson County Association. This association provides youth summer camps where the kids learn hands-on skills from K through 12th grade. This pipeline impacts hundreds of kids each year through programs where inventing, creating, using math and science skills are developed and lead to career paths for young minds. And this continues on to a college level where students can earn a high school diploma, an associate's degree, while learning in-demand manufacturing. Thank you so much. Manufacturing is a valuable asset to Jackson County. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. 57, please.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Jonathan Bird, and I currently live near Battle Creek, Michigan. I've had the pleasure of living in Calhoun County my entire life, having grown up in Marshall and currently a property owner in both Albion and Battle Creek areas. I want to encourage you to consider drawing a fair state house district, which includes both Battle Creek and Albion. As a former resident of Albion, I can assure you that my family and I spent more time in the Battle Creek area, both working and taking care of the needs of my young family. I've served on the Kellogg Community College Board as a nonpartisan trustee since 2007, and we are proud to have campuses in both Battle Creek and Albion. Battle Creek and Albion share a variety of similarities that make them jointly communities of interest. They are both longtime industrial towns. They have institutions of higher education. They both have significant minority populations, including partner branches of the NAACP. Both have significant Catholic parishes within the Diocese of Kalamazoo, and both communities have Eastern Orthodox Church parishes. Both communities have significant populations of union members. They both have Amtrak stations. They are both connected by the Kalamazoo River and are included in the same watershed. And both are clearly connected by Michigan Avenue, or M96, and I-94. Please be sure to consider these similarities of Battle Creek and Albion as you consider communities of interest in Calhoun County. I'd like to thank the commission, and I look forward to sharing more thoughts with you, and I'm truly grateful for the service that you're providing the people of Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. 58.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for being here, and thank you in advance for all the hard work you're going to do. I don't envy your task. I ask that your goal be that no Michigan voter feel like their vote doesn't count, and that no candidate for any elected office feels that they have their election in the bag. Thank you.
Thank you. 59.
59, that's me, Nathaniel Mulvihill. I've lived all over Michigan. Born in Cass County, owned homes in Jackson County, owned homes in Redford, Michigan, and Wayne County. I currently am living in Summit Township and working in Belleville, Michigan. I have seen this state. I've worked in every county except for the UP, but I vacation up there. Don't allow the desire of somebody's work location and their home location to want to be in the same district. It's not your neighbor's fault that you choose to work somewhere so disparate to where you live. I'd really like you to use the building blocks of school districts as a real strong place to start. And I realize that puts things that I graduated from Northwest High School, and I know that Northwest High School ran from extremely rural, huge farms all the way into Blackman Township, city dwellers. So to use just the base of school district, I realize ignores the rural to urban dynamic. But it is nonetheless a good building block. Lastly, you're never going to make everybody happy. So I apologize to you for the abuse that you're going to receive down the line. But the overriding principle of simpler being better, school district lines are a real good place to start. Somebody earlier mentioned at some level disregarding prison populations as an indicator of size of an area. And I think that's valid. I certainly don't want to disregard our prison populations, with a sweep of the hand. But as far as counting, the people inside that prison aren't necessarily representative of the people in the surrounding communities. That's a really hard jump to make. And then third point, good enough. Good luck. Thank you so much. Oh, I know what it was. These guys are doing an incredible job. You're in a concrete block with small speakers and you can hear every word and your head's not being blown off. So
Thank you for acknowledging them and for all the hard work that goes into planning this hearing for you all so that you can best share and communicate with us. So we are glad that you notice. Number 59. I'm sorry. I have, okay, 58.
My name is Bruce Barton. I have lived in the city of Jackson for more than 80 years. For the first time tonight, I found out that I lived in a donut hole. The city of Jackson is indeed in the center of Jackson County. It is surrounded by 3 residential or bedroom townships. Those are surrounded by 16 townships of either residential or rural nature. There is no court in the county of Jackson. There is nothing of that nature anywhere but in the city of Jackson. So everyone in Jackson County who goes to court, whether it be probate, district, circuit, comes to Jackson. There is a central library system with branch libraries, but anyone in the county can get the book he or she wants transferred to the central library. The county building is in downtown Jackson, across the street from City Hall. So this is a community of interest in every sense, a united community in Jackson County. Now, I don't know why people from Washtenaw County or someplace else wanted to get together with us. People here live in Jackson County because of the cost of living, because they don't want to go to Washtenaw County. In fact, river systems and recreational activities lean west, not east. The Raisin River goes east. The Grand River runs all over the place in Jackson County and then goes west. The Kalamazoo River runs through Jackson County, and both of those rivers originate south in the counties of Lenawee and Hillsdale. In fact, Lenawee and Hillsdale and Jackson are region 2 of the planning community in the state. In fact, they are intimately connected because people who are counselors and so forth often work here part of the week and in either Hillsdale or Lenawee counties the other part of the week.
Bruce,
Thank you.
unfortunately, your 2 minutes has ended, but we would love to hear the rest of what you have to say using our public comment tool if that's available to you.
Well, that's appreciated. Essentially, my point is that, first of all, Jackson County is in itself a community of interest. It perhaps is a community of several interests, but in fact, it is a common community with ordinary established boundary lines. The idea that, for instance, I-94 running through Mr. Jennings Township connects urban communities makes no sense at all, because Mr. Jennings community is part of a community of interest called Jackson County. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. 60.
Good evening. My name is Dim, and I'm an organizer with Rising Voices, which is an Asian American advocacy group. In the last couple of decades, Asian Americans have made their homes in the state of Michigan. We are a rapidly increasing population that is tremendously gerrymandered, resulting in limited resources for communities that consist of refugees, asylum seekers, and immigrants searching for a better life. Just a couple hours from here in Battle Creek, there are many Burmese Americans like me living and contributing to this great state. Many of us are Chin, a persecuted Christian minority from Burma who have sought refuge in Michigan to escape religious persecution. As one of the few, if any member of the Asian American Pacific Islander community here, I urge you to draw maps that keep these Asian American communities together and to consider the Burmese American community, not only in Battle Creek, but in Grand Rapids and Lansing as a community of interest. Furthermore, Burmese Americans and Asian Americans are communities with many new citizens who are eager to participate civically and continue to improve this great state. We can only do so if we remain in the same districts, thereby receiving much needed representation and resources. I'll end by saying we should also consider Black, Indigenous, Latinx, and Arab American communities who continue to improve this great state. Thank you so much for your time and all your efforts. And in our language, we have a saying, which is Topa Tupa, which means God bless you.
Thank you so much for sharing with the commission. 61.
Thank you and good evening. My name is Elise Lang and I live in the city of Jackson. I would like to begin by thanking you all for taking this duty so seriously and for physically attending tonight to hear our comments. I would like to make a comment on my community of interest. And because I've heard and read enough biased sounding comments already, I would like to remind us all that a fair definition of a community of interest is not supposed to be determined by mere political values, but it should represent a community where we reside and with whom we spend a great deal of time because of our common background and cultural, historical, or various interests. I understand that some people who do not live in the city themselves feel that they would like to exclude the city of Jackson from our current districts because they believe we have different interests. They want to lump us in with other cities that we rarely ever visit just because they judge us by race or income. But the fact is that the city of Jackson works together in our entire county symbiotically, and many of the people who live here love the dynamic of our county. In fact, the Jackson County Fairgrounds that often features rural exhibits is a focal point of our city and shows how far we've come in embracing diversity. Now is not the time to build walls and divide. We have come so far in finally recognizing and protecting each other as equals. I feel like the combination of the rural and urban areas provides you with the nonpartisan lines the Constitution requires you to draw. And because I believe that way, I am an active participant in our church's outreach efforts. And indeed, our church is a second family to people of all different races and economic backgrounds that represent our community. I live right downtown, yet we drive north of the town to a little country church multiple times a week. We have people in our congregation that live in the city, such as myself, others that are more suburban living outside the city, and quite a few that are rural. My community of interest is the group of people I associate with on a weekly basis from all the surrounding areas who don't look at the color of each other's skin or the house we live in or the income we make, but recognize each other as fellow Americans who are all created equally. Please keep the city of Jackson intact with our county. Thank you.
Thank you, Elise. 62. "62 is coming." We're patient.
Thank you all for your time and thank you for your service, each and every one of you. And my name is Joseph Lang and my area of interest is the whole county, Jackson County. I grew up here and I work here and I go to church here and I'm actually a Jackson County resident of the Sixth Ward, assistant pastor, designer, father of two little ones there, and an American citizen. And I'm watching this process closely, as are many of us. And I feel like right now would not be a good time in the history of our country to make this process more confusing and more difficult to understand for many people. And I would like to propose an idea with a focus on fairness, because I believe that if you as a group don't unanimously agree, then some are going to view it as illegitimate.
And so I propose that this committee make no changes unless you all have a unanimous vote of agreement on the proposed change for any redistricting line you consider throughout the state. This way, you may stay away from bias and the perception of being unfair. And remember, fair, no change is not a bad thing. Whatever you do, again, I ask that it be an agreement. And that's just a simple request there. And if there's not a unanimous agreement, then we could go on the way we are right now, keeping Jackson County the way it is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joseph. 63 through 66 can approach, and we'll start with 63 when you reach the mic.
Thank you. I'm John King from here in the city of Jackson. I live about a mile south of here. I want to express my distrust with this new system and even with this commission. The first organizing committee of voters, not politicians, was here in the city of Jackson. The Democrat Walt Sword was leading it. And he mentioned that in the 2016 election, Donald Trump won because of gerrymandering, which isn't true at all, which was maybe either very ignorant or dishonest or both. I know, with this commission voting against the Pledge of Allegiance, we talk about a community of interest, and the majority votes against this community interest of doing the Pledge of Allegiance, where it says, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands." That republic exists because of the United States Constitution. And that, before any other thing else, is why you're all here. I heard a few of the excuses that, this isn't about the United States or this or that, but it's the United States Constitution that redistricting is done. There's been a lot of politics in here. I follow politics, and with a lot of the individuals here, they've been pushing their politics and it has to do more with congressional districts, where some people say, Jackson, the city of Jackson and the city of Ann Arbor have common interest. Well, Ann Arbor has a much higher income level, education level, and there's a lot of differences. But there is one common interest, and that's that they're both tilting Democratic. And I hope that this commission can surprise me and actually be nonpartisan, but at this point, I'm very skeptical that can happen. So thank you for the time.
Thank you for your time. 64.
I'm just going to lift this up a bit. All right. Good evening, commissioners, staff members, volunteers, and everyone tuning into this process tonight. My name is Quentin Turner, and I'm a lifelong Michigander representing the nonpartisan organization Common Cause Michigan. Common Cause endeavors to create an open and honest and accountable government that serves the interests of the people. We have been working in coalition with other nonpartisan organizations, including Voters Not Politicians, Michigan Voices, the League of Women Voters, the NAACP, the Michigan League of Conservation Voters Education Fund, the ACLU Michigan, Engage Michigan, and the Michigan Nonprofit Association to closely follow Michigan's first independent redistricting process in order to inform and educate the members of our organizations across the state. While we are excited for what an independent redistricting process will mean for Michigan's democracy, we are concerned about proposals to begin the map drawing process using existing district lines. Instead, we urge the commission to start fresh after taking testimony from communities across the state. Starting fresh is the only way to honor the intent of the voters, center communities who have traditionally been sidelined in the redistricting process, and ensure fair districts for the next decade. Using Michigan's current gerrymandered districts as a starting point undermines the intent of the voters who voted overwhelmingly in favor of the constitutional amendment creating our new redistricting commission. As you know, the existing district lines were drawn behind closed doors by politicians looking to entrench partisan advantage. The result of that can be seen not far from here in Kalamazoo. Michigan's 60th House District is currently 6% over the median population of all other House districts in the state. In 2010, legislators packed Kalamazoo's majority Black neighborhoods into the 60th House District, effectively diluting their votes, resulting in less representation for those communities as compared to surrounding areas. If we use the existing 2010 maps as a starting point, we are baking in this underrepresentation. Michigan deserves better. I would like to thank the commissioners and commission staff for the opportunity to speak tonight and your dedication to public input, transparency, and accountability. Thank you.
And Quentin, we thank you. '65.
Good evening, commissions. My name is Alicia Williams, and I am the Jackson County NAACP president. I was raised in Washtenaw County. I lived in Leone Township for over 30 years, and I now live inside the city of Jackson, on the south side of Jackson. I don't have to live in the city of Jackson. I choose to live there because what that community offers. And I choose to live where my voice can be heard and where my voice represents those that are underserved. I choose to stand up for a community that is unrepresented, where civil rights and civil liberties are taken and may be taken for granted. Redistricting following a census will determine political representation for decades to come. And we must ensure that our communities and our voices are heard and those needs are met. Gerrymandering will determine how our local school boards, city councils, state legislative, and congressional districts are drawn. How can our communities participate in a fair democracy? How can we ensure that the interests are being heard and that the represented elective officials are listening to our voices? How can we ensure that the voting strength of our communities will not be weakened? We need to align similar communities with the much needed resources that are equal and fair for all. District maps must be equal and fair, and the elected representatives have to reach out and speak to the people that they are representing. The voices that are heard must echo the voices that they affect. I call on each and every one of you to choose fair and equitable districting. Choose equality for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Number 66, number 67, and well, we'll just start with 66, my apologies.
Thank you. Hello. First, I wanted to say thank you for signing up for this difficult task. My name is Samye Mahoney. I was born and raised in Jackson, in the city of Jackson. This is such a special city and county, so I really appreciate you coming here because we often get lost in all of the bigger cities, so we appreciate that. I would like to discuss my community of concern, which are communities of color and their political representation. I'm asking that you put a focus on fair representation and stop gerrymandering. I would also like to discuss the importance of having our voice heard in the 7th District congressional seat, which currently includes Jackson, Charlotte, Adrian, Coldwater, and Hillsdale. These areas, while they do have residential areas, of course, are mostly rural. And then you have Jackson right there in the center that is mostly urban. So our voices often get snuffed out. I would like to see Jackson County in a more urban district that would allow for more fair voting and to allow a congressional representative that will vote in a more fair and equitable manner. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you so much. 67, 68, 69, and 70, you can approach the mic. When 67 gets to the microphone, you can begin.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Finnegan. I live in Concord Township in Jackson County, and I'm here this evening to share with you why it is necessary to maintain our 7th district as close to as it is now as possible. There's a web of mutually beneficial relationships between the vast homeschool network in Jackson County, Branch County, Hillsdale County, and Lenawee counties. The families that live in these rural communities are very intertwined with each of our 4-H and county fairs across county lines. Our students are also participating in multiple homeschool co-ops, extracurricular activities such as dance, voice, theater, martial arts, and a variety of athletics like softball and soccer. Sorry, my glasses are failing me. I am sure you can see how important it is for the socialization of children, as these are some of the most memorable and defining parts of childhood. We need to keep our congressional district as it is because we need representation in government that represents all of the rural areas, farmer, rancher, the self-employed, and the homeschooling family. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. 68.
Hello. Thank you, commissioners. My name is Heather McDougall. I have lived in Jackson County most of my life. First, I'd like to thank you all very much for your time and your dedication to this monumental task. I know it can't be easy, and it's obviously taking a lot of your time. I'm here to ask you to keep Jackson, Lenawee, Hillsdale, and Branch counties connected. These counties are all hubs for major manufacturers. Manufacturing is making a comeback in Michigan right now, and it is essential for continued job growth that they receive governmental representation. Jackson County is home to Melling, Advanced Turning, American Tool, Elm Plating, Jordeau, and Alro Steel. Hillsdale is home to Southern Michigan Turning, Jonesville Tool, Lenawee County, Lenawee Tool and Automation, and Braceway. Branch County, C&M Manufacturing, Austin Machine and Tool. This is just a tiny sample of the manufacturers and the many union jobs that are in our counties. My husband has worked in manufacturing since 1993, and through manufacturing, he has supported our family, clothed and fed our family, kept a roof over our heads, all due to a good job. Please don't let these jobs lose their representation, because then they will move to other places where they will be represented by the government. So again, I'm asking you to please continue to have Lenawee, Jackson, Hillsdale, and Branch counties all served by the same representation in our government. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Dougal, for addressing the commission. 69.
First of all, thank you for your commitment to our democracy. I appreciate your efforts. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Scott Leach, and I'm a proud Michigan educator. My simple request is that the end result of this process is a true representation of the people of Michigan, that the number of representatives sent to Lansing and Washington, D.C. proportionately represent the collective whole of our citizenship. For far too long, gerrymandering has been used as a political weapon to bypass the true will of the people. Look no further than the disproportionate representation found in our state's House and Senate. The people have entrusted you with the chance to create districts that, in the end, will accurately reflect our citizens' interests. The reality is that you will not be able to avoid gerrymandering to create these districts. I only ask that you use the gerrymandering process, that the use of the gerrymandering process will result in a product that will truly represent the voices of our great state. Thank you for your service to all Michiganders.
Thank you, Scott. And our final in-person public comment, number 70.
Hello. Let me just first acknowledge that I hate doing things like this so much, but it's very important. So my name is Maisha Jones and I live in the city of Jackson. And I often think that the best experts are the ones with lived experience. And so I don't know if any of you have ever lived in this community. So I think I'll share a little bit of my experiences to help you understand my perspective. So I graduated from Northwest High School, which is in a very rural community. And I remember going to Northwest and not a lot of people look like me or talk like me or understood the way I thought and believed. And that was okay because I had a great experience. I remember being the Rose Queen of Jackson, where I represented our community. And I went to a lot of different places and spoke about a lot of important things. But I remember specifically how I felt when I went to communities such as Hanover, Horton, and other rural communities. People would give me odd looks because, again, I didn't look like a lot of the people that lived in those communities. And that's okay because I learned a lot during that experience. I remember getting my master's degree at Spring Arbor University and visiting Spring Arbor often and getting weird looks because a lot of people just really didn't look like me. I know we try to prevent talking about race and different things because it just makes everyone uncomfortable, but I don't care about that. People being uncomfortable, I care about what's right. And sometimes we need to be uncomfortable to talk about what's right. Tonight, I want to talk about equity. I want to be very specific. Equity is not always fair. For some reason, we think that doing the right thing is fair, equity is fair. It's not always, but equity is doing the right thing for everyone. I'm grateful for my lived experience because it's taught me to love and appreciate everyone, but it's also taught me that some people are just different. We have different lifestyles, we have different obligations, we have different beliefs, and that's okay. But we need in Jackson representation who cares about people in Jackson, people of color, people who are in poverty, people who have been underrepresented for so long and their voices have not been heard. We need to redistrict. We need to redo these lines. It's not okay. And hopefully my lived experience and people who speak like me understand the fact that we need to be around people and have resources that can help with our needs. So I ask as you move forward and you make your decision, which sounds like a really hard job, that you consider equity and understand that equity stands on the foundation of diversity and inclusion, but equity is not always fair, but equity is the right thing. And that's what we need in the city of Jackson is equitable representation. Thank you.
Thank you, Naisha, for addressing the commission. That concludes, again, our in-person public comment, and we'll move on to our remote public comment. We have two people that are present for our virtual public comment. Individuals who have signed up and indicated they would like to provide live remote public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. I will call your name and our staff will unmute you. If you are on a computer, you will be prompted by the Zoom app to unmute your microphone and speak. If you are on the phone, a voice will say that the host would like to speak and prompt you to press *6 to unmute. I will call on you by your name or last 4 digits of phone number, but in this case, I'm going to call you by your name. Also, please note that if you have experienced technical or audio issues or we do not hear from you for 3 to 5 seconds, we will move on to the next person in line and then return to you after they are done speaking. If your audio still does not work, you can email redistricting@michigan.gov and we will help you troubleshoot so you can participate during the next public comment period at a later hearing or meeting. First in line to provide public comment is Reagan Stahl. Please allow a moment for our staff to unmute you.
Oh, thank you, commissioners. My name is Reagan Stahl. For transparency's sake, I am the current vice chair of the Branch County Democrats, but I'm only here to ask for the commission to draw equitable lines that support keeping communities of interest together. I'd also like to add that communities of interest include shared racial or ethnic background, common history, culture, or language, and shared socioeconomic status, not just hobbies. We support the commission drawing Branch, Hillsdale, and St. Joseph counties together. My reasoning today includes that we as Branch, Hillsdale, and St. Joseph counties share our tri-county health department, our unifying location as state border counties, and our economic interests primarily are farming communities. Thank you very much for your time and good luck with your decisions.
Thank you, Reagan. We'll next have number 5, who is Douglas Helzerman, and please forgive me if I mispronounce your last name. Please allow a moment for our staff to unmute you.
Okay. Yes, you said my name well. So can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm Doug Helserman. I'm a county commissioner in Livingston County, and I know that most of the people here have spoken from, most of the people have spoken from Jackson County and places south. Anyways, we will know if you have gerrymandered, if you have spokes from the city in many directions to break up counties like Livingston into 3 or 4 House districts. We now have 2 Michigan House districts belonging exclusively to our county, and we would like that to continue. I would make a suggestion that you use several benchmarks to measure your proposed plans. I'm sure that you'll have a ranking tool, and I would ask that you would rank the present districting and come up with a number, and then judge your new plans against that. And that any number that gets a smaller number than that number ought to be rejected, because it will not be better than what we have, and the idea is getting something better. Also, I would suggest that you do a pilot ideal plan that takes each of these districts and makes them equal by population, keeping political units so that you would only have one broken political unit in any district, and that you make them as square as possible without regard to any of the other legal, federal laws or whatever, and use that as a pilot plan to judge your other plans against. And if they are less than that ideal plan, they should also be rejected. I was very disappointed that you as a group refused to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. To me, that was one decision that you lost a lot of trust of millions of Michiganders. We don't know you, first of all. We'd like to know you better. We'd like to trust you. The redistricting process set forth in Michigan's amendment to the Constitution.
Mr. Helzerman, your 2 minutes has ended.
Okay, thank you very much. I didn't see any clock or anything like that. But thank you very much for your time and for your work. And we wish the best for our state. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that concludes our virtual comment, and thusly our comments from this evening from in person as well as people that joined in virtually. And we thank you all for sticking around with us. And I am going to pass this time over to Sue Hammersmith, who will provide some acknowledgements.
We want to thank the many volunteers who came out tonight to assist. So they were doing everything from cleaning microphones to helping people check in. So thank you for being a part of this. We appreciate the local people who did that. And then I also want to thank everybody who provided public comment. Thank you so much for your comments. The commissioners will consider those things that have been said tonight. And I want to strongly encourage anybody who made comment to go to the portal on the, that you can access through michigan.gov/MICRC and put your comments there. And especially if you're talking about a specific area on the map, help the commissioners to understand exactly what you're talking about. And then I hope that some of you who are listening virtually who couldn't be here tonight, or if others would like to also come to our next public hearing, we will be in Kalamazoo at the Wings Center on Thursday, May 13th, starting at 6 p.m. And as always, we do also appreciate your virtual comments. So thank you so much. Thanks to everybody who came out and shared their opinions with us.
Thank you, Sue. And now, commissioners, I don't know who wants to give me a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
I'll do it.
Who was Alden?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Can I have a second? Juanita, a second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, stick around and help clean up the chairs. The ayes have it. Thank you, everyone, for attending and joining us this evening. Be safe and travel well.